molested, they're hurt, they're abused. You know, there are all these things, and people think, oh, I packed the barrel and I sent it for you, and you got clothes, and you're good.
It is that specific thing that my mother talks about all the time. My mother and my father talk
send you
about.
this and send you that.
Yo, I will pack the barrel. We did send your clothes. We did send your food. Mommy, I never seen any of that.
First of all, you never see half of those things.
They touch when the barrel touched down. I don't know what y'all gave me. Cause I remember running around. Yo, mommy, send this for you. It's done. Yo, for years, my mom said, "Yeah, we send you clothes. We send you this nice clothes." I said, "Mommy, I did not have that. I was walking around barefoot with just the pants and the shirt and the red dirt. That was my.
That barrel got shared with everybody.
With everybody else." These 7-day Adventist people took advantage of me and my sister.
Right.
They used to beat me up because for some reason I could read good. I don't know why. Then their drunk father used to have me reading the paper every morning. And the kids for some reason felt like they were just jealous. Right. So I used to always get into fights with them over that kind of foolishness. But it definitely had an impact. I mean, I thought I was really strong. It made me strong in one way,
of course,
but weak in other ways. Because I could acknowledge that I had a lot of pain, but I was like, things I went down in jail. I used to always say, like, when I go through little issues up here, foolishness. I done dealt with stuff like this. Right. But it impacted my relationships.
You know, the interesting thing is that at this point, one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing with people in therapy is that I've gone through all of these things and I've been strong for it, but it's almost like I've been too strong because now I've lived my life, because it puts you in survival mode. I don't know about you, but I've been in survival mode for a long time.
Yes.
Because it was the whole time I was in Trinidad, when it was like, oh, you're going to go study your school. And the moment I got on that plane, it was like, go to America, go to school, don't study nothing else, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but then what happens to the rest of life? Because no one is teaching you about those things. And you're in survival mode. You come here, it was just my mom and I. Most of my family is still, in Trinidad. And you're trying to assimilate to a new country. Whatever with your accent in this. I remember when I came, put you by the grade because you're too, advanced. We're not sure where to put you with this and that in school. Then you're kind of smart. It's just all these things happening. And then I know for me, there was this huge survival mode of like, I gotta get it because ain't nobody gonna get it for me.
Right? There's no safety. None. You have felt like I was telling somebody today, when you are the only person that got you. So I used to just learn to operate under that modus operandi. Like, that's my MO. Yeah. I have no safety net. No. So if it's not me, then who?
Then it's no one. But that is such a huge problem because it puts you in survival mode, and then it doesn't teach you the opposite, whereas you are supposed to be able to depend on other people. You are supposed to trust. You are supposed to be able to feel secure. And that's why I say those things manifest in your relationships. Now you're in a relationship with somebody and they say, all right, I got your back. We're going to get married. We're going to live in a house together. I'm going to pay the rent. And you're looking at them like, how do I trust that you're going to really do that? What happens when you stop paying the rent? Yeah. What happens when you do this? Yeah. And you're scared because you don't know how to trust and feel secure and be vulnerable with somebody else.
That's you.
I'm speaking your life.
Yo, listen, after that stabbing shit, boy, so I was like,
Hollywood, tell your stabbing stuff.
Listen, alright? And I was supposed to go to counseling. And they told me, my doctor actually told me to go to counseling after I got stabbed by a girl that I was dating. 2 inches from my heart. She almost killed me. After that, I'm sorry. Listen, shout out to all the girls that I messed with after that. I cheated and I did all I did. You know what I'm saying? This is my truth. But, yo, real talk, I was, wow. After that,
you like, lost.
My mind was just like, nah, this is all that.
Yeah.
Nah, boy, I gotta keep my one eye open.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it just, like,
it will mess with you. And these are the conversations that I wish people would understand, that this is what you can come to talk to therapy about.
Listen, trust me, I hear my woman tell me this all the time. Oh, let's go to counseling for your mom's passing.
Yes.
Let's freaking go to counseling because you got stabbed, you never got over it.
You didn't get over it. You didn't talk about it.
Listen, I'm one person about me saying I'm a grudge holding person. That's just how I am. I'm always a grudge person. I've been like that my whole life mostly.
Can somebody pass the Alizé?
I hold grudges. You know what I'm saying?
That's
just how I am. But I also feel like I don't want to go to a counselor that don't know what I've been through. Cause you know you got like some like marriage counselors for instance. How the hell you gonna tell me about my relationship and you ain't never been in a relationship?
Well,
I just speak personally.
That's a bit much.
Listen,
because I'm not married, but I do a lot of couples therapy, and I see married couples.
But have you been through, not to be in your
business, but
have you
like,
been through like relationship
yes.
issues? See, I can understand that, but there's some of them counselors that be like, they ain't been through nothing.
I've never been in a real. You know, I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely some therapists out there that really need to work on themselves before they do therapy.
That's what I'm saying.
I had people in my social work program. There was a girl I thought they just planted there to test. To test us. I was like, yo, this girl's secretly supposed to throw us off or something. Because she does not need to be a social worker. She does not need to be a social worker.
People that definitely, you know, are there and they want to help, but it's like you can help doing something else.
Listen, I never said I was going to go counseling, but you
Maybe
know,
some admin work.
Right.
I feel good with you, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel good with you, so.
Right.
I'm
And I would
that connection.
love for the men to come to therapy more.
Yeah, man, we need it. As a black man in America, I wake up every day just worried.
Yeah. My fear for men and for black men is that black women are in such a movement, and we've been for a long time. I mean, forget what's happening now. We're more educated, you know, we're moving further advanced, and I feel for black women, you know, even when you bring up topics like, oh, I can't find a man, and this and that and whatever. What I feel for black men is that I don't want the gap between us to become too wide.
And that's what's happening.
Strategically.
When a woman had, like, for instance, like somebody went to college and somebody didn't go to college, right? But the experiences of the college experience, or just going through an education process, it transforms the mind.
Yes.
And so sometimes you find that people aren't evenly yoked, so they
Right.
don't find, they speak in some almost a different language,
Right.
if you will.
Right.
And I always was telling people, like, look, this is the reason why I think a lot of we're having these issues in our relations, black men and black women.
Yeah.
We're not evenly yoked.
Right.
We have to ensure that everyone is being successful, everyone is making it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of resentment because there's like, we want to blame each other for why these things are occurring.
Right.
We have to take some personal responsibility, but there are a lot of also environmental and historical issues that are at play.
It's systematic. To me, it's systematic, and I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think it's concocted this way for a very specific reason. I think the admittance into college is I don't think it's so much our personal responsibility as much as it is like, oh, you didn't get in, or all of a sudden, like, you have to go to special ed, and you really can't go to college. Like, these seeds are planted in, like, black men's head for a reason, and, like, other seeds are planted in black women's head, and it's like, they're accepted and they're moved.
Right.
And so what you do to a race, to a culture, is you pull them apart, you pull the communication, you break up the black family, essentially.
And they've been doing that with certain policies that have been implemented, even from when they were talking about WIC and from all these different policies where black men weren't encouraged to be in the home, from even going all the way back to slavery and separating the families then. But I think you're right, Anika, about that specific thing about, hey, planting seeds in black men's head.
Right.
I remember growing up, and you know what I mean, you hear rap songs or songs where men were proud to put their women through school by drug dealing. Right? I remember Pusha T would say something like, I was at my girl, I had two girls. One I went to a college one, I went to a master's one. I was out there clapping in the rafters. But you out here in the streets selling drugs, boy. So eventually you're gonna get caught.
Right.
She's gonna end up going on in life, being successful, and what are you doing?
Right.
But you are gonna be able to speak the same language because you're a hustler, and she is now a professional. Those are two different realms, and they don't mix. So I think, like Lanika is saying, you're right about that. There is something where they tell black men a long time ago, it's cool not to go to college. It's cool not to get your education, and then impacts us on the back end where now we're not evenly yoked in terms of our relationships.
Right.
So black women are looking for a man that she can understand, that understands her, knows her struggles, knows what it is that, you know, to have to go and study all night for a test.
Right.
Like he's telling you about some other
Know
stuff.
how to maneuver a system.
A system.
Which is important in life. Like, as much as I hate to say that, like, it's important to know how to maneuver a system. it's what helps you through America in general. Everything in America is a system, and if you don't know how to maneuver systems, you fail at it. Epic fail.
One thing when we were setting this up, I read some of the articles and stuff, and after we had our phone call, I started Googling and looking things up. And even more for like Caribbean people that have moved here and transitioned and it has come up for them. A lot of the reports that I looked at mental health, there was just one report specifically that, and I think you had sent it to me after I read it, was talking about looking at the mental health rate. So I was looking at depression and numbers and things like that. The crazy thing was that the rates became higher as someone moved from the Caribbean to America.
Yes, I read that.
Yes.
The more time you
The longer
spend
you were here,
in
the
America,
higher
the
higher the rate for depression and anxiety among the Caribbean community. And of course it makes sense. You know, after reading and why that was the case, but you're coming here to have the better life.
but you see, that used to be. I used to feel like that used to be like that back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's totally different.
No, it's hard in America.
It's harder.
It's harder.
It used to be, we come to America to have a better life, to have a better life for our kids and all this stuff. It's not like that.
It's not like that.
To think about it from that perspective, where you come from, you're economically you might be doing better,
right?
But emotionally you're not, because you finally acknowledge that you're in a white power structure.
Right.
In the Caribbean, you don't get
that.
that.
Yeah.
You see black people all over the place doing. Everybody's in a position
and
doing.
most of the time, you're the majority, not the minority.
The minority. So you have to deal with being around white folk and being in this kind of system.
Yeah.
So it just shows that being in America is just stressful.
Racism is stressful.
Racism, exactly.
Because in the Caribbean, like I would tell people all the time, I didn't know about racism until I moved here. Everyone was black like me, and the white people were the minority. And the only thing we had in Trinidad, you had classism. You had the difference between us as a black class and an Indian class, and who had more money and whatever. It was a class issue. It was not a racism issue. It was very different. And so when you move to America, and now you're in a space where you walk in a store and you're being followed, and you have a race issue, then that is a different amount of stress.
Right. And then when you start to interact with, let's say, the African American, the person who's been here, whose family's been here all this time, and you start to realize why they behave or be the way they are, and you start to understand, like, they dealt with this from historically from all this time. So we start to look and judge people. I remember coming up, they always say like, these African Americans, they lazy. My God, understand the situation that they've been in. You've been a slave all this time, going through Jim Crow. Every step of the way they've been fighting you.
Right.
At least in our country, we were kicking people out. All right, we got to run our own shit now.
Right. Yeah.
Now, in here in America, you start to understand and deal with that kind of heaviness. And wow, this has been impactful, man. This is really great post game. This is going up. This is going up too. And I got to record it.
I just want to say a happy birthday shout out to D and Quan. This is their month, September. Happy birthday, King.
September birthday.
What?
We're really happy to be here, be alive, and I will say this: like it was hard for me to find a black therapist, but the white therapist that I did find, I forgot his name, Brian, I think it was.
Shout out to
Brian. That sounds like a white
Brian. And Brian was this white gay guy, and when I walked into the office, it's like, oh God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, right? Because I'm this black Jamaican dude, right? And Brian helped the hell out of me. Like he really broke shit down for me, and got to understand he was using cognitive behavioral therapy. I had some real serious things I had to take care of. So, shout out to you, Brian. Hope you and your boyfriend's good too. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a good experience, and I would encourage everyone to actually go out and do it. Just try it one time. It feels really good. It's like this catharsis. You get to, and this person doesn't judge you. The thing about therapy is they don't judge you, right? It's this person, and you're not gonna see them anytime. You don't have to. If you're in a smaller neighborhood, you might, but you're not gonna desperately run into this person, and then they're obligated to not tell your business.
Right.
So you can feel secure in sharing whatever you gotta share.
I'm really
That's
interested
HIPAA law
about...
anyway. They can't do it.
Yes.
So, unless you want to get
I like that lawsuit.
locked up.
Keep it quiet. Talk about that lawsuit. I'm really curious about access. So I know we talked a little bit about access, and in terms of accessing specifically like therapists that you want to somewhat mirror a lot of the your own like self-image, etc. But nowadays there's a lot of like phone access to therapists where you don't have to physically actually be there.
Right.
You can call. What is it? God, I'm forgetting the name. There's the internet. There's Talkspace. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Right. So now the access has opened up so much, and so I'm just curious about your thoughts about like technology and how it's like weaved into like therapy, and if you think there's a difference between the two, like in person and.
Yeah. So definitely now there's this whole new world of being able to text a therapist, do video sessions. It's called telehealth, where you're able to do video sessions with a therapist, and some people do like talk or phone sessions or things like that. So it has really expanded, and I think it allows people that are maybe not as comfortable, whether it's coming into office or not, or they feel more safe and comfortable in their homes, they can do it. And just also like being in New York and living, in our world, we're all so busy as well, right? So it's hard. Like I know for my clients, like if you have to come into the office, it's a commitment because you have to come to see me for about 45 minutes to an hour, however long it takes you to travel to me and how long it takes you to travel home. Right. So let's say out of like a week of coming to see me for therapy that you're giving, an hour and a half, 2 hours of your life, to therapy. So definitely I think that those options, open things up for other people. Right. Personally for me and professionally, like I utilize video sessions at times. For me, there's nothing like someone being in the room with you.
Yeah, that's the thing
right?
I was about to say.
There's nothing like someone being just like face to face in the room with me, seeing, their responses, their mannerisms. Like I can have a client that just walk into the room and I can feel the difference between like today's a hard day, today's a rough week versus like you look lighter today than you did last week. So it's important for me to feel that energy from them, and so I like when people come into my office. I will transition clients at times if they need to, like if there's some sort of, change in schedule or it just becomes a little bit more convenient for us to sometimes do it online. Like I'll open up that option, but I like to meet people in person.
That's great. And so let me talk to us a little bit about the efficacy of FET. We FET a lot here. I mean, it's part of our DNA, and we call Feteworld for a reason, because all the islands that we represent are the king of fetting, right? We are the best at it. So wanted to just ask you, what do you think in terms of like fetting? How does it have some kind of like mental health, like help you deal with like being better in terms of your mental health?
So I think like, and of course you follow me, so I go to my fets and I enjoy them, and it's part of my life. For me, it's part of my self-care. I enjoy it. I have a good time. It's a stress reliever to be able to go out. Those who love soca knows that soca is everything.
Trust me.
Soca's life. Soca is life.
And dance halls.
Yes. Let's not forget the Jamaicans and they dance hall. Absolutely.
Don't play. I love dance hall too. I do have a little more soca in me.
Adiasha, have you seen? You should go watch the vlog.
I should look there.
That's messed up. I'm a Jamaican who loves soca, and so
I know a lot of Jamaicans that love soca. I know a lot.
It's soca hard now.
Yes.
Hard.
Very hard.
Linky. But you know what? Soca and dancehall, they play off each other.
They do.
So,
They do. But it is definitely, I think that it can be a stress reliever, right? It definitely can be a space where you can feel free, where you feel energized, where you have fun. I know I've been fetting for a long time, and I have friends from fetting. I have people when I go to parties, that I see them, I have friends, they'll say hello, things like that. So it's a community. When you fetting and you're here, you see people that you see all the time, and you see people that I've been fetting with for 5 years, 10 years, and then you just know each other just because I've been seeing you in parties. I'll say hello just because I see your face. And you're a regular, right?
Like cheers, everybody knows your name.
You know everybody and things like that. So It's a sense. I think it definitely is a sense of community. Like it's something. It's a shared interest, right? So if you think about mental health and you think about having coping skills, like I would suggest a client, like what is your interest? Like what is your tribe? What is the things? How do you connect with people and things that make you feel good, that give you good energy, that lift you up? And for us, Fetin does that.
Yeah, definitely. So Adiasha, I know so you also do some additional kind of other programs at Sip and Unwind. You'd like to talk to the people a little bit about that, those forums that you hold.
Sure, yeah. So right now I have been working with the owners of Sip on Wine to do like a mental health series. So I did one in July, and we talked a little bit about the Caribbean American and migrating and the emotional and traumatic impact of having to leave your country or being left by your parents.
Acculturation process. Yes.
That was.
I should have been at that one.
You should have been.
That's my issue, man.
That was near and dear to my heart, being someone that moved here and moved here later, but my mom left Trinidad when I was 2, so there was like a whole period of my life where, she was.
I left
there.
My parents left me. I was there till I was 9, 10, and I moved up. Then they left my sister back, and my sister was like my mother at that time too. So I felt like it was like I got a double dose of that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. So we had a really nice conversation about that and opening up the topic of just the trauma and what is left behind for those children that got left behind, because you miss your parents, they're not there. You become parentified like your sister did, because you have to step into a role of being a parent when, your parents are gone, having to mend and reconnect those connections, being without a parent in your childhood, which is a super significant time psychologically, to be connected, and that's where you learn a lot. When children are separated from their parents at such a young age, it definitely has like a huge traumatic effect. So, and being that in the Caribbean community, that wasn't something that was talked about, because I felt like it is seen by the parents as a sacrifice, but not for the children.
And it's disrespectful if you bring it up.
If you bring it up, right?
Hold on me there and wash white people's body. When you come and talk about say I feel problem and issue. I'm not gonna want to hear that.
Yes, exactly. So
and also how it manifests. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but also how it manifests in other, like later in life, like being left and that feeling, and when you experience that, how the triggers come out.
Absolutely.
Also very important.
So we talked about all of that, like the triggers, that stuff. Because a lot of people that experience that, you feel abandoned, and then abandonment issues play out in life. They play out in your relationship, and that is a psychological issue for a lot of people when they have abandonment, or you feel unsafe, or you feel insecure, or things like that. And a lot of times those things play out in relationships a lot, where I feel like I definitely focus a lot in my work with couples and the link between traumatic childhood events and how those play out in your relationships. Because anyone that's having a lot of issues with their man and woman, there's some sort of issue that happens to them in childhood that is screwing them up.
We coming to the next series.
Yeah.
We gonna be back.
In the back of the
Preach. Raising my head, I got a told story to tell.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, no.
I see so
great.
much in therapy of how that plays out. But definitely a Sip on Online. So the next thing that we're having is September 23rd, and we're going to talk about depression and anxiety with myself and one of my friends that's also a social worker in the field, and just wanting to like have an open discussion, because I think as a people, as Black people, as minorities, as just being in New York, there's this sense of like you have to stay strong, like you shouldn't feel bad. And so many people are hiding their anxiety. So many people wake up in the morning, can't even get out of bed, are anxious and worrying about, and have racing thoughts and all of these things, and they're really just trying to focus on like staying strong. And it's just not okay to silence your suffering for the rest of the world. So that's going to be the next thing that I do with Sip on Wine around depression and anxiety.
Well, definitely, I feel like we're going to try to make a special trip out there to support that, and to come out there and share our experiences. And let people know where they can find you online. You're on Instagram.
Yeah, so my Instagram for my practice is @QueensTherapist. It is Queens with a Z _therapist. My practice is called Growth and Transitions Counseling. So you can look that up. follow me on Instagram. You can Google. We're, like I said, we're in Ridgewood and Howard Beach. So in Ridgewood, we're on Metropolitan Avenue. Super busy. Everyone knows.
I delivered there on Metropolitan a lot.
Yes.
Or up Metropolitan.
Yeah. So we're like right on Metropolitan Avenue. Easy access from like the M train and buses. I have my practice with myself and 9 other therapists. So I have therapists at both locations. So anything that people need, like I said, we take most insurances in New York City. The Howard Beach location is accessible by the A train to the Howard Beach JFK stop.
Oh, so you can take the 8 to 5?
Of
course. Of course.
I'm just saying the Howard Beach. Like,
yeah, that's far, though. No,
It's
far.
But
Real.
it's gonna be worth it.
It's
worth it.
easily accessible by just
see you in Ridgewood,
taking the A train. Yeah. So it's like the A train is literally around the corner from the office.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful. Listen, I'm about Ridgewood, so I'm good. I'm working in Massachusetts, so I'm ready.
Yeah, so like right in Massachusetts, so right in Ridgewood. So you can definitely find us if you need anything. And if anyone definitely seeing this just has questions or anything, you can message me at any point in time and I'll help you.
So we'll have that link up on the video, and also, you know, make sure if you're Caribbean and you want to make sure that, you know, you got somebody there to talk to, come out here and see Adiasha, all right? Make sure you go and hit her up and go get some help, all right? Go talk to somebody.
Your insurance covers it.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't got to pay out of pocket. You know what I mean?
And she's a black woman, just realize that. And you're not a black man, it's a black woman, so you might feel a little better.
Anyway, so really thank you guys. Thank you, Adiasha, for coming
Yes,
out
thank you so much.
and talking today. We really appreciate it. That's it for us here at Feteworld.